And welcome everybody to the Huddle. New graphics, same show. I'm KGUN9 Sports Director Jason Barr, joined by our main anchor, Pat Parris. It's game week. Pat, good afternoon to you on this Tuesday, August 30th. Pat loves his game notes, everybody.
Got to have your game notes.
Available, he prints those game notes out. We tried to beat him to it this week and bring it back to him.
You actually did beat me.
That's
right.
You
did beat me. You and Brianna did beat me to it today or yesterday.
Patty, feeling pretty good. Year 2 of the Jed Fish era, except he's kind of saying this is year 1. He's not counting last year. He says those weren't his players. Pat, let's play a soundbite. Start off with Jed Fish talking about going into the season. I want to hear Jed Fish's soundbite, and then I want to get your reaction to it as Arizona football gets set to open its season this Saturday, national TV against San Diego State. Let's hear from Jed Fish, about 30 seconds worth.
I'm cautiously optimistic with our team going into week 1. And I know that while we've never played together as a football team yet, we've got 70 players that have never played together. We have 53 players that weren't even on our team. We have to see what it's all going to look like. But I do believe that if we do what I think we can do, we'll be able to, start this build the way we want it to be.
Pat, how optimistic can you be coming off a 1-11 season with the type of schedule they have? Which is
cautiously optimistic is what you have to be, because you just don't know. You and I both know the eye test shows that this team is better than they were last year, and in some cases, you're talking about
better.
You're talking about big upgrades in certain position players. So you would expect it to be better. You mentioned right at the start that Jed Fish says, well, it's year 2, but it's really year 1 as we were just making our way. I asked that, in kind of that way. I asked to Dave Hickey when I did that sit-down interview for a football special, and he said, well, you could look at it that way, but it's year 2. And also I said, so how do you gauge it? Is just about the wins and losses? And he said, he pointed to the scoreboard behind me. He said, we keep scoring this game. So Dave Hickey, I don't know that he's buying as year 2, he says it's year 2. I don't know if he's buying that it's only year 1 for a full season, under Jed Fish, and he wants results. That was what I got out of that. And I think as a fan, I want to see results. As a sports journalist, I look at it and say, this team should be better. Let's see how it plays out.
Yeah, certainly it starts with a quarterback, Jayden DeLora. Now, they play San Diego State. This is a team they played last year. Last year, U of A football had some good competitive games that they lost, but they also had some stinkers. This was a stinker, Pat. They had 9 first downs the whole game. It was 21-0 before you sat down in the stands with your adult beverage or your Coca-Cola. Yeah. But how much can you take away? They got different players. Arizona's got 50 new players. Certainly, San Diego State doesn't have its starting quarterback or running back. Actually, they've got a pretty good quarterback this year with Braxton Burmeister, a guy who's committed to Arizona twice and backed off and ended up at Oregon, Virginia Tech, and has had a journey of his own. So, it is a very much different roster than the last couple of years. I think that could certainly go into Arizona's benefit. But Pat, got to be very careful going into this game because they're starting a new season with a new stadium for San Diego State. It's Snapdragon Stadium. Anytime that happens, it adds extra emotion to a season opener. I think Arizona, the takeaway from last year's game is maybe not the players or the score, but you can't get punched in the mouth right away.
Yeah, that's a great point. If you remember how last season played out, they started out at BYU, remember? And they actually played fairly competitive against BYU and lost.
They won that third quarter. They won
the third quarter. You're right. They won the third quarter. They lost the game, and they won the third quarter. So they came back home last year for their home opener
with some optimism.
With some optimism because excitement that, hey, it's not the old regime. It's Jed Fish. He has us believing. He has the players believing. And they got knocked in the mouth once, then twice, then 3 times. And they were down, Jason, it was 8 minutes and 53 seconds into the game. They were down 21-0. Can't have that happen ever again if you're Arizona football. But
and what I'm saying is there's the potential of that with the excitement in a new stadium.
Yes. And there's that excitement. There's the whole overarching idea that this San Diego State team is almost in a way continuing its audition to be moved up to the Pac-12, right? Since 2016, Jason, since 2016, San Diego State is 7-2 against the Pac-12. So it's not just Arizona that they beat. They're 7-2 against the Pac-12. They're trying to prove to everybody that they are a Power 5 quality team. Now, you and I can say, look, there's only 3 returners on offense, 7 returners on defense. This is not the team that beat Arizona last year. This is not the team that was a top 25 team all season long at San Diego State. But they want to prove that they belong in the Pac-12. They want to become one of those next couple of teams that gets added if the Pac-12 continues to hang around. So I think that you're right. There's a little bit of a concern that San Diego State might have a lot of confidence rolling out of the tunnel at Snapdragon Stadium on Saturday.
All right, let's touch on the quarterback position. This I just mentioned a little bit earlier, but obviously we know Arizona led by Jayden de Laura, the Pac-12 offensive. He was the Pac-12 Freshman of the Year last season for Washington State before he transferred. But also an interesting situation with Braxton Burmeister. He's the San Diego State quarterback. Here's a guy in Burmeister who committed to Arizona, decommitted, committed again to Arizona, decommitted. By the way, this was 6 years ago. Ends up in Oregon, plays 2 seasons, transfers to Virginia Tech, plays 2 seasons, comes back for his final year of eligibility. He's a San Diego guy, went to high school in La Jolla, set every record you can imagine.
Right.
And you can see here, even in the video, he's got a pretty good arm, and he's going to be a challenge for Arizona on its defense on Saturday when they head to San Diego State.
And I don't know a lot about, I haven't watched either of these quarterbacks play a lot, de Laura or Burmeister, but they seem to be.
de Laura in the game. It was a bad weather game at Washington.
Yes.
Year, yeah.
But you know what I'm saying? We haven't seen their whole body of work. We've
Right.
seen highlights. We've seen a game or two. I think they're very similar quarterbacks. I think they do have strong arms. I think they can run the ball a little bit as well.
Can run. Yep.
Yeah. And I think that that's going to be a challenge for the Arizona defense. For Burmeister, I mean, what a great opportunity for this young man to go back home. He's got a lot of experience playing in college football. Now he gets a 5th year and he's going to be back home, and open a new stadium. I mean, there's a lot of great things going for him. For Arizona's defense, it was the question mark last year. It'll be the question mark this year. We again see a lot of improvement with the roster. We see some of the guys that have been here a few years get another season under the belt. 11 transfers coming into this Arizona squad, 39 high school players coming in to play their first games. There's a lot of question marks, Jason. I guess we'll have it a lot answered by late afternoon on Saturday.
Jason Barr, Pat Parris. We're doing the Huddle here on KGUN 9's streaming sports platforms. By the way, you can chime in here with a comment and a question. We'll be happy to read it. All right, so let's talk about a few of those players. Certainly a lot of offensive weapons for Arizona they didn't have last year. Pat, I don't want to see a situation where we're in the middle of the second quarter, they're down 10-3, and we're texting each other, why has Teteroa McMillan not have a reception yet? Why are they not throwing the ball to Keon Burnett? I think Fish needs to make a statement early and get those guys the ball, almost the way he did in the ASU game, the last game last year, the Territorial Cup game. I forget whether he did a flea flicker or he did some type of play, and he early in the game, the first play, just to kind of make a statement. Hey, we're here. We're here. I want to see McMillan and Burnett and Jacob Cowing, the other wide receiver, who's going to be the slot receiver, Teteroa McMillan, the outside guy. I want those guys involved in the offense early. What do you think about that?
Yeah, and I think that's what we were screaming for all of last season, was to get some of the guys, the playmakers, involved very early and get them involved early and often. You're going to have a really strong. I mean, the running back depth on this team, Jason, is unbelievable. So you're going to be able to establish the run, we hope, as long as the offensive line can get any kind of push whatsoever. But I'm like you. I think you've got to get this offense into a rhythm that we never saw happen for very long last year. We never saw long stretches where this offense was just clicking and they were just piling up the points. It never happened. And that's one area that you've got to see is this offense with Jayden de Laura. One of the things I did agree with Jed Fish yesterday, and we played a soundbite with him last night at 6 and 10, and that was, he was talking about the Jayden de Laura effect. Is there's a confidence level that you really didn't have last year with the quarterback. There's an expectation level with this quarterback. And there's a, you take that expectation level and you expect to see him succeed because he's done it already in the Pac-12. And that alone is worth a lot, I think, Jason, to have the players run out of the tunnel, even if it's in San Diego. They expect to move the ball. They expect to score points with Jayden DeLore at quarterback now this season.
Yeah, he actually led the Pac-12, and I believe it was yards and touchdowns in Pac-12 games. So why is that important? Well, he didn't just, accumulate a whole bunch of stats in a couple of non-conference games. He did it during conference games, and he's done it before. It's not like a situation where you don't know if this guy can get it done in the conference, as you said. And then you look at the other side of the ball. They were, I believe, last in the NFL in red zone defense. Last year, both red zones were terrible. They couldn't get any turnovers. The defense has got to come away with a couple of turnovers, and they got to be aggressive and do that this year. I thought Don Brown, in totality, in the whole scheme of work, I thought he did a really good job last year as defensive coordinator. But the one thing that you could really pick on besides the red zone defense is I believe they only had I forget the number now, but they did not have enough takeaways. This is a defense that has got to get the ball back to its offense, and not only is it a field position thing, it's a momentum thing as well.
I think you could count it on one hand, or maybe definitely you could, not more than two hands to count the number of takeaways. It was a small amount. They released a depth chart, Jason, and even the depth charts we talked about. When you look at this roster, you just see upgrades all across the board. And on the defensive side, clearly one of the strongest areas they have is defensive end. You've got to like the fact that they're going to be able to put a lot of pressure on opposing quarterbacks, certainly. And then I mentioned running back. And Jason, you could make an argument that guys that are sitting down, Rayshawn Luke and Drake Anderson, guys that are third and fourth on this depth chart, they could get playing time, lots of playing time in a lot of Power 5 conference schools. But because you've got Michael Wiley and this Jonah Coleman, who's a freshman, is number 2 on the depth chart, and we all know what Michael Wiley can do. And with another season, I'm just excited about them carrying the football. I know we talk a lot about Jayden DeLore, and has got some great new receivers to throw to, but I'm looking forward to this running game as well.
Yeah, and certainly takeaways has been an emphasis that they've been doing in the spring as well. And the running game, they need a good offensive line. They got Jordan Morgan here anchoring it from the left tackle.
Yep.
It should be an improved offensive line. All right. There's another issue, Pat, that we should get on here and discuss, and that is, as San Diego State is opening up its new Snapdragon Stadium. By the way, for those who don't know, Snapdragon is, I believe, Qualcomm's top chip or top product. Qualcomm, certainly a big semiconductor company located in San Diego. We looked it up, so you don't have to. So anyway, I thought it was a soup in a restaurant or something. It's not. Anyway, Matt Araiza, it's been a big story here in the world of sports, nationally in the NFL. He was a punter on the San Diego State team last year. Matt Araiza was a Bills rookie. He just got cut. He's been accused of rape and a possible gang rape. I'm not sure how much of a cloud this is over Snapdragon Stadium, but it's certainly not a good thing for San Diego State. And I think it was emphasized yesterday, Pat. What do you think in that news conference that San Diego State had? Give me your thoughts on what happened, and tell everybody what happened in that news conference at San Diego State yesterday.
Yeah, so I'm gonna read from the Associated Press article, because obviously neither one of us was there. But in San Diego, the San Diego State football head coach Brady Hoke, he actually said Monday, he had said yesterday, Jason, in this press conference, that he didn't know that star punter Matt Araiza had been accused of participating in the gang rape of a 17-year-old at an off-campus party back in October, until a civil lawsuit was filed last week. Now, you might question whether or not a head coach would know that or not, but we found out later, after both the head coach and the athletic director left the news conference because they got tired of trying to get through that news conference. They got tired of being asked the same questions.
They need to hire some of U of A's people who will end the news conference, right?
Right.
Go ahead. I didn't mean to interrupt there. Go ahead.
The athletic director, John David Wicker, did come back and defended the school. And he said, and this is important as to why they feel like they were doing the right thing. He said that the school administration, San Diego State administration, decided to obey the San Diego Police Department's request to delay a campus-led inquiry into the alleged gang rape until authorities finished their criminal investigation. The incident happened allegedly on October 17th. This lawsuit was just filed because apparently the proceedings were going a little too slow with San Diego police. And so that's where that all stands. So is this, for the current players, none of the current players were involved in this. Apparently the two other players besides Ariza are no longer with the team.
That's right.
So is it something that could cause a problem? Well, you always talk about distractions, and you don't want distractions, and a head coach will tell you to avoid and eliminate all distractions. It could be a distraction. The head coach, Hoke, we'll see if he is able to make sure it doesn't become a distraction for his team on Saturday.
I don't think it is, unless there's somebody on that roster right now who was involved in that incident. That's like saying, was it a distraction? Was Book Richardson a distraction for U of A basketball last year? Nobody's thinking about that as they're going up for a jump shot. By the way, I know it's a little, sensitive subject here. If Matt Ariza is guilty of gang rape, yes, you can send him to prison, lock, throw away the key. But let's just make sure he is guilty. I feel like some of the things that I've seen recently, Pat, and heard from some national commentators, they're forgetting about the Duke lacrosse situation. Everybody wanted to throw the book at these Duke lacrosse players, and they didn't do it. Now, I'm not saying Matt Ariza didn't do it. We don't know. I'm just saying let's find out. It does look like he's guilty of statutory rape, if nothing else. But I'd rather just see it play out than everybody just, vilify somebody when we don't know for sure yet. Not saying I don't believe the defender. I'm not saying that at all. I'm just saying before we send him we send him away because his life is altered already. Before we make it a whole lot worse, let's just make sure he did it. That's all I'm saying.
Yeah, and in the meantime, we'll wait for a football game to be played and let it take its course through the legal process, both on the police side with potential charges, and then on the civil side with the allegations.
All right, so we got a couple comments here. AJ Reynolds apparently doesn't think it's going to be any different than last year. I mean, AJ, if you're saying 37-13,
it was 38-14 last year.
Yeah. So that's the same score pretty much. And J.R. Kern, you're not very optimistic either. Well, are you ready for another losing season? Hey, come on,
he did say LOL. He said laugh out loud. So
all right.
Maybe it's not all doom and gloom.
And maybe that's his dog talking. So anyway, Pat, it's a tough schedule for Arizona. I mean, you look at the non-conference games. Normally, got one game in there that's like a little bit of a safety net. Not so. We know how good San Diego State was against them last year. How good they were last year. Then you got the team winning. I don't know what North Dakota State was. What is it? 7 out of the last 10 FCS championships or something.
They're
like that.
Extremely good for their level of football, without a doubt.
And then before that, you got an SEC team coming in here. So
Mississippi State,
that's 3 tough games, and then there's a real tough schedule in the middle. So this is a tough schedule for this team this year.
I'm a little bit more optimistic. I'm not maybe as optimistic as you are at times with Jed Fish and this team, but I definitely think we can't just look at last year and say, well, San Diego State's going to win that game. And because North Dakota State's North Dakota State and they're such a power and they knock off they knock off a Power 5 team every once in a while, they're going to lose that. I actually think they can be 2-1 after this first 3 games, but I don't think they get more than a couple more wins after that. So I actually think that while it's a difficult non-conference schedule, that they could actually have a winning record for a brief time this season, and it'll be because of these first 3 games.
The over/under is only 2.5, if I'm not mistaken.
I think you're right.
The odds, if anybody wants to go bet on it, I believe it's just 2.5. They just got to squeeze 3 wins out of there somewhere. I tell you what, I would go the over if I have to place a bet on this Arizona team. I'm not saying that as a homer. Believe me, I criticize and say I don't think they're going to do well. I don't think that's the case here. I think they're going to win. I think they're going to win 3 games. I actually think they're going to win a couple more than that. But I can see how it would be tough to see it based on their 1 in 20 something in their last 20 something games. Because 1 in 11, add the 5 losses in 2020, that's 1 in 16, and then I think they lost their last 8. Their last 6, 7, or 8 of 2019. So like 1 in 24 or whatever's the last 25.
I think it's
games.
It's the worst record in that 2.5 season stretch because of COVID in all of Power 5.
The stat I was looking for is the Arizona defense intercepted 4 passes last season. I mean, only 6 teams in FBS had fewer picks. That's the stat I was going for earlier. Can you imagine that? They intercepted 4 passes the whole season. You've got players who intercept 4 passes in a season. Or you've got teams that intercept 4 passes in one game. That's a bad game for a quarterback. They had 4, and it's not just, that's not picking on the cornerbacks. That's a totality situation of the defensive line and the linebackers not getting to the quarterback.
You're not getting pressure.
And that's a defensive coordinator who was blitzing. And they still only got 4 interceptions. So they need Jalen Harris and the other, Hunter Eckel, who's new this year from USC. These guys got to get to the quarterback. Got to get to the quarterback.
That's guys from each side, Jason, coming at the quarterback. You got to think that if they don't get to the quarterback, they'll get a lot of pressure on the quarterback this year.
Yeah. All right. So it's Arizona. By the way, national televised game for CBS. I don't know why they're downplaying that so much. Fish downplayed that yesterday. Johnny Nansen, I believe the defensive coordinator, downplayed that a little bit today. I wouldn't downplay that. You're on national TV.
And not only that, it's mid-afternoon.
They're just doing it externally, maybe within themselves.
Could be.
Because you got to motivate. That's something you got to say at going out of the tunnel. Everybody's watching you.
Well, and I hate to keep going back to the interview I had with Dave Hickey a week and a half ago, but he said, we want to get the A out there. And he pointed to the A lapel pin that he had. You got to get the A out there. And that's why they need to get more exposure with the Pac-12, Pac-12 after dark. They need a better TV contract. They're negotiating that right now. But to have your team playing at 3:30 in the afternoon, Jason, on a Saturday, it's going to go from 3:30 to 7 o'clock at night on the East Coast, right? On CBS. So I would embrace that. I'd be saying this is our chance to get the A out there and let everybody know that we've turned the corner already in year 2, that we're back and we're going to, and unless they want to downplay it in case they don't win, I mean, maybe that's the argument. Hey, by the way, one of our favorite players from last year, you and I were just talking about, Stanley Berryhill, released today. Hate to see that.
Will Parks also with the Jets.
It happens, but those of us who like to follow the Arizona Cardinals as well, you had to note today that Josh Rosen got let go by the Browns. I don't know if you saw that or not.
I didn't see that.
Our assignment desk guy, Phil Villarreal, and I always talk Arizona Cardinals football, and we can't help but, follow Josh Rosen. He's had what a crazy, not very good ride he's had in 4 seasons, but I looked it up. He's now been released by like his 5th team, maybe it's his 6th team, 4 seasons, $18.66 million he has made. 10.8 million of that was the signing bonus that he got as a rookie from the Arizona Cardinals. So you can make a lot of money, Jason, bouncing around from team to team and never even really seeing the light of day.
You and I feel a little differently about him. I think Josh Rosen can play. I think you put Josh Rosen in a certain situation, he would do very, very well. I think he just got a tough spot. He was on a terrible Arizona Cardinals team that first year that went 1-15, I believe that he was on the 1-15 team. And then of course they had the number 1 pick. So they got Kyler Murray and his stock was damaged. I know he's been in Tampa. There's no real place to play there. I believe the 49ers signed him off the Tampa's practice squad, if I'm not mistaken.
Yep.
I didn't really even realize he was in Cleveland. He can play. I'm telling you, he's a fantastic athlete. I just hope he got
we disagree. That's where we disagree.
Yeah,
I watched him play. I watched him play in college, and I was underwhelmed.
He was terrific.
It was underwhelming his senior year. He was his final year, not his senior year. His whatever it was his junior year. His sophomore year was great. His junior year was not good. I thought he was.
He was hurt.
I thought it was a real stretch for them. And then remember, he was mad at the 10 teams that didn't take him. He was going to get back at him. Now he's played for like half of those 10 teams. And
come on. And he interviewed very well for that draft back in 18 or whatever year it was. It actually moved him up, and the Cardinals traded up.
When you get 5 opportunities and none of them work out, I don't know.
It's not necessarily him. It's very difficult. You've got 3 quarterbacks only make a team. 2 of them, you know who they're going to be already.
But in Cleveland, you should be able to make the.
You brought it up. Who beat him out then?
I'll have to look.
We'll have to look at. Yeah, we'll have to look it up. We'll have to see who beat him out. That's part of it. and we'll see if he latches on somewhere else. I disagree. I think Josh Rosen.
Well, Deshaun Watson, who's suspended, so you need an extra quarterback, right? Jacoby Brissett.
Okay.
Joshua Dobbs beat him out.
I don't know who Joshua Dobbs is.
Exactly.
Let's see if I can look him up.
Tennessee quarterback, 27 years old, 4 of 5 in 2020. He threw 5 passes. He completed.
All right. Well, to your point, that's somebody who you really could have an opportunity to beat out. He's 27. It's not like, he's got some untapped potential that maybe you don't see. So, it's too bad.
And it's you know what? And I do like Josh Rosen. I really do. When they drafted him, the Cardinals drafted him. We rooted for him. It just didn't work out. And my point was, you can still make a lot of money, Jason, even if you don't really get on the field much.
I think a backup quarterback's a great position in the NFL.
I know. And he missed
a lot of money. You don't get your brains beat in, and you get the pension afterwards.
Right. But remember, he almost got a ring with Tampa Bay, but they released him off the practice squad right before the end of the season.
They didn't release him. What happens is if another team can sign you off.
Yes, you're right. Yeah, that's what happened.
He
got taken off. You're right. He got taken off it. So he was a whisker away, an eyelash away from having a Super Bowl ring too.
I would have stayed in Tampa if I listen. Obviously, you got to go to a team and not be on somebody's practice squad, but you got to go for the opportunity. But I thought that practice squad was a decent spot for him. Anyway, that's enough on Josh Rosen. It's nice when we agree. It's also good when we disagree too. So you get get some different points of view. All right, so we're about to wrap up here. The last thing I just want to say is, hey, anybody watching the U.S. Open. Serena Williams, she won this is her last tournament probably. The way she's looked the last couple of weeks, I don't blame anybody for thinking she was going to lose her first round match. They gave her a very easy first round match. They had the ceremony afterwards because you're never sure, if that's going to be her last one. She's got a much tougher opponent. She's got the number 2 seed in her second round. If she can get by that, she can get a little, confidence going, but not confidence, but momentum going and maybe make a run because the draw opens up. But I don't think she's moving great. And I think the play against her is the drop shot. And as Chris Everett said in the commentary, hit behind her. So I don't see her making a big run a la McEnroe made his big run in 1990 at the end of his career. Jimmy Connors did it a year later. I don't see it here, but if she can get through this second round match, which is going to be Wednesday of this week as we tape this, we could have a lot of fun following her. But just as from a sporting event, watching the U.S. Open and the excitement and the electricity around it, it makes for great theater.
Yeah. Oh, there's nothing better than a U.S. Open, nighttime match.
That's right.
It's phenomenal. Is she going to play with her sister in doubles too?
I believe so. I don't know how she can do that. That takes a lot out of you to play singles and doubles at age of 40. But I believe that's the plan. We'll see. All right, so we'll talk a little Cardinals next week. I wanted to do much more U of A. The Cardinals don't start.
Oh yeah, absolutely.
I want to do much more U of A. All right, well, it's a good chat.
So I'm gonna say 4. I'm gonna say 4 wins. I'm gonna say 4 wins for Arizona Wildcats.
Yeah.
I'm gonna go 4 wins.
I'm going 5.
Okay.
Not to one up you. That's what I would.
No. You and I have talked, and that's what we've been saying for the last couple of weeks. So I think I'm confident in 4. You're confident in 5.
I'm not doing a Price is Right thing and going 1 up. That's what I would have said. That's what I would have said. All right. Thanks everybody for tuning in, both live and also we get a lot of viewers, listeners on when it runs OTT. Anyway, for Pat Parris, I'm Jason Barr. Thanks everybody for watching the Huddle here Tuesday and 3:00 Arizona time, and we'll be right back here next week. We'll talk about the game and how the Wildcats did. For Pat Parris, I'm Jason Barr. Have a great day, everybody.